Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is Making the Case. I'm Laverne McGee, in for Yodi. Tonight, from celebrities to legal experts to Black Twitter, many are still talking about the verdict in singer R. Kelly's federal sex trafficking and racketeering trial. Guilty on all counts. He's 54 years old and could end up spending the rest of his life behind bars. But while he waits for sentencing next year, the disgraced singer still has plenty of other legal battles that he faces. Still to come, federal and state charges in Chicago and state charges in Minnesota. Joining us now to give us more insight is veteran prosecutor and BNC legal contributor Paul Henderson. Good to see you as always, Paul. You followed this trial with us from the very beginning. What was your first thought when you heard the verdict?
I mean, when I first heard the verdict, it was almost a relief. Like I said, I became convinced from the evidence very early on in this case, and given the volume of testimony, the volume of evidence about R. Kelly, with things that I felt like we already knew in the industry. We already knew in popular domain about information and things that he had done, even going so far as back as what his relationship was with Aaliyah and the marriage. So a lot of the stuff had been out there for quite a long time, and this was essentially a reckoning. My curiosity as an attorney, as an advocate, was whether or not prosecution was going to be able to overcome the hurdle of celebrity, to present that to a jury in a way that they understood the complicated racketeering charges and actually find him guilty. And so it's a relief, not so much as something against R. Kelly, but as much as it is a validation for Black girls and validation against Black LGBT boys that were victimized in this case and have had a decade of interaction, over a decade of interactions and negative interactions with people. So for me, for the victims, I was satisfied to hear this verdict.
Yeah, so many people saying that, Paul. And I want to get your thoughts, though, on what R. Kelly's defense team actually said to the media after the trial. Let's listen.
Yeah.
When you go over to discovery, you saw witness after witnesses giving 3, 4, 5 different versions as to what they said happened here. The government cherry-picked the version that they thought would be a continuation of the narrative that was first put out by Cheryl Mack and Surviving R. Kelly. And they cherry-picked a version and ran with that version. They totally ignore the inconsistencies that all of these witnesses gave in their debriefing.
Paul, what do you think of this? Why do you think the defense is still attacking Kelly's victims after this verdict?
Because there's not much left for them, nowhere left for them to go. But I hear that, and it makes me angry, and it makes me frustrated. Now, I understand that he has fans. I understand that R. Kelly has a legal defense team, but I take offense at how they characterize much of the evidence and testimony that has come in. And let me just start with what the defense attorney was just talking about there, with inconsistencies where narratives and stories weren't consistent every single time someone told a story. That is never the case. If I told you a story now about my breakfast last week, it may be inconsistent with the story that I tell you tomorrow. And we're talking about narratives and victimization from people that took place 15, 20 years ago. Those are the inconsistencies that he's talking about. And those narratives, quite frankly, were presented to the jury for them to determine the truth, and they found truth in those narratives. They listened to the almost 50 witnesses and almost 11 different victims that were testifying in this case, and they found them to be credible. So I'm really looking judgmentally about the conversations that we're hearing from defense and from folks on the sidelines that are saying that this was a conspiracy. No, it wasn't. These are real victims that deserve justice, and this was a real trial, and he's been convicted. These were not liars and gold diggers, and to the degree they were fans, to the degree they did accept money, to the degree they went along willingly, and I put willingly in quotes, the real issue is that R. Kelly committed crimes. You can't consent to sexual behavior at that age for 6 of those victims, both men and women. That's a crime, and he's been convicted. He is a whole criminal. a predator. He will be in prison for decades because of this trial. And to me, the challenge that we have with these witnesses and these victims that testified is really disappointing to me from the race perspective of the challenges that I think are conflated and broader because they're Black women, and they're broader and conflated because these are gay boys and men that were victimized in this case. And that's the real problem, that these folks aren't supported, they aren't believed, they aren't validated by our justice system when they come forward. And I don't think that it's unique to the R. Kelly case, but that's what I see behind these challenges that are coming from defense. And that's independent of their appellate rights, which of course they're acting on. But to me, it's frustrating to hear those voices marginalized by both fans and the defense team in this case. And if you think about it, like, these are folks that are coming forward, testifying in the most traumatic thing that has ever happened to them. And as they are telling their story and want to be believed and presenting to a jury in a court of law, talking about things that presumably they're embarrassed about, the things that they did willingly, again in quotes, and the letters that they wrote that were incriminating themselves and incriminating their family that weren't true, that are part of the evidence that have to be revealed publicly, that R. Kelly was behind and orchestrated. And then to have that testimony challenged in the way that it was challenged by the defense team, saying that they were liars, saying that they were groupies, that's got to be a very difficult thing. And so I get really frustrated by the attack on them personally, as if that undermines and changes the conviction. And so it's frustrating to me, and I'm glad we're having this discussion and talking about it, though, because I want people to change their lens about how they're looking at this case now that we have this verdict as an affirmation that R. Kelly committed criminal acts. That's what this conviction stands for. And it's a validation for those communities and those witnesses that testified,
Paul,
and others that didn't get a chance to testify or that were too scared, that this conviction stands for them as well.
so Paul, let's talk about justice. How long will he be behind bars? Because his sentencing is not until next May, and that's an unusually long adjournment. What will happen between now and then on this case? And will Kelly's lawyers file motions to dismiss the verdict? And should we expect any other motions?
Oh, you can expect a ton of motions. They for sure are appealing this case, as they typically do in most convictions. And this, we've given it a little bit more time. The courts have given it more time before the actual sentencing, but there's still a lot going on right now. Let's keep in mind that there are two other states with charges for R. Kelly for sexual assault, Minnesota and Illinois. That's still pending. And this is before we start talking about the civil lawsuits that are certain to flood our courts right now. And one of the things that I think is really interesting here, while this is all happening, that we have to have a secondary hearing for the restitution costs. And that's a whole nother and separate issue just related to this case. So independent of the sentencing, and this does relate to some of the civil liability, there's going to be a restitution hearing that evaluates the witnesses and the victims that testified in this case to see what they are owed as a result of this conviction. Now, that's going to take a little bit of time
All of that.
Hair. Oh, yeah. But in the meantime, R. Kelly will be stepping in the name of love to his jail cell, where he will stay in custody the whole time. Just to address that as well, he will not be out of custody, and he'll get credit for this time. But while all of this is happening, he will stay in custody. So I think what's interesting about
Paul. Paul, like you said, he's stepping. Listen, when he's in behind bars, they're going to be stepping to him, because even criminals don't like sexual predators like that. But he could face up to life in prison. So what do you think will come next for him in terms of that sentencing? Because he's got these other charges against him. He's already 54 years old.
Yeah, that is correct. And the minimum that I've calculated already is at least 15 years. And I think it could be much higher than that after they conclude all of the sentencing and they've made their arguments, and after they've run through all of their appellate rights that they're allowed to make and challenges to make. I don't think the challenges and the appeals are going to go very far, having heard the testimony and seen the evidence. I don't think that there is a basis to undermine or challenge the conviction that he's faced. And like I said, there are more convictions possibly in his future because there are more challenges in other jurisdictions that he'll have to face. At the very least, he'll have this 15 years. And what I think is even more interesting is what is going to happen to him because of just this conviction financially. There's been a lot of talk and conversation about how he doesn't have any money left anymore and he owes all of these people. But what's interesting about R. Kelly specifically is because he is a celebrity and how he earns and generates money. Obviously, he can't tour, not out of custody, but he still has some wealth and he still has some assets. And so that's why I was talking about this restitution hearing where the civil asset forfeiture division is going to put on a whole case about what he owes and what he's able to pay.
Yeah, I don't know about this whole he doesn't have money because let's face it, so many people sample his music and whatnot. But that's a whole other conversation for another time. Thank you so much, veteran prosecutor and BNC legal contributor Paul Henderson. Always great to get your expertise. Thanks for joining us.